Let me tell you something else. It's much worse. That if humankind is to make any great breakthrough, you and I are going to have to start thinking the unthinkable. You didn't even get what I said. I said that you and I are going to have to start thinking the unthinkable. You and I are going to have to develop a faculty for thinking that which cannot be thought. This is about thinking out of the paradigm, out of this paradigm. This is about thinking of a paradigm, but a very special paradigm. This is about thinking about the paradigm of paradigms. This is not the substitution for one paradigm for another, but to move into that space in which you are responsible for whatever paradigm of reality you're functioning in which you've got the power to create a paradigm of reality for yourself where you can live at the vortex of life, where you can be at the table on which the pool game is being played rather than one of the balls, thinking that you've made a difference. You know, if you think, if you and I were pulled billiard balls, we'd be crashing around the tables like crazy, thinking that every crash made a difference. If I am to have the basic principle of my life, who I am makes a difference. It really just who I am makes a difference. So being me is a great adventure because who I am makes a difference. See, for most people, who they are doesn't make any dang difference at all. So there's no adventure to it. If you want to live your life out of a basic principle, who I am makes a difference, you're going to have to develop a capacity which most people have never developed. You're going to have to use an organ in which most people don't even know that they have. You're going to have to stand on your own 2 feet and think for yourself, because this organ, this capacity, this facility, this faculty is only available to people who are willing to stand on their own 2 feet and think for themselves. The ability to create a principle for your own life, to be able to get control for yourself over the principles in which shape, form, formulate, limit your life. You must have the power to create a context for your own life. For most of us, context doesn't exist. You know, to an illiterate society, the idea that knowledge could be held on a piece of paper is unfathomable. See, you and I can't get that somebody could not get that how to farm a plot could be put on a piece of paper. But there are farmers in this world who think that if you don't do it, if you haven't done it with your hands, you can't know it. You couldn't put a piece of paper, you couldn't put it on a piece of paper. It's not that they can't read, it's much worse than that. The dimension of literacy does not exist for them. The context literacy. I want you to get that it's unconscious for us, our context of literacy. Sure, we read. Sure, we can read. Sure, we can use the written word. But we haven't thought that in order to do so, we must have the context literacy. You see, context is the freedom to be. It is the space to be. Why? It doesn't take up any space, and it doesn't take any. It doesn't use the space. It is the space. Wow. It has no expression. It allows expression. Has no form. It allows form. It's different than a box to live in. A box to live in limits form and shapes form. A context allows form. See, it's not that you don't make a difference. It's that there's no space for anything to make a difference. It's not what you're doing in life is wrong. So there's no space for what you do in life to have any impact, to really count and make a difference in your own life as well as the lives of others. In order to make a difference, you need to be able to create a context. And that's why I've spent so long on it. And there is a context which is now available to us, which is the most exciting opportunity ever presented to humankind, as far as I can tell. An opportunity exceeding literacy, an opportunity exceeding agriculture and urbanization, an opportunity exceeding industrialization, an opportunity exceeding returning to our environment away from industrialization. For the first time, really, there's enough to go around. We live in a world in which it's possible to take care of everyone. So for the first time, and I say it happened sometime around now, that may be 5 years ago or 50 years ago or 2 minutes ago, but sometime around now it became possible for you to create a context in which to live your life that could allow you to have the principle of your life be that you make a difference. You see, I'm talking about the principle of your life. Now, the way you're allowed to be, the way you're allowed to think, the way you're allowed to feel, the way you're allowed to live, where that comes from is a context. Given the context in which we have been living, it has not been possible for you to have the as a principle of your life, or the context as a principle of life, that you make a difference. That who you are counts. It has not been possible. See, if you try to adopt the principle that who you are counts and that you make a difference in the old context, you know how it expresses itself? Helping people because they can't help themselves. It expresses itself that you are a big and powerful and they are weak and puny, and therefore you will take out of your large S, out of your overflow, that which is overflowing, and share it with these people who, because they are weak and stupid, cannot help themselves. And that's the way we've done it. You don't believe me? Ask them. Don't ask you. Ask them. No, it requires another context to have the principle that people make a difference, that who you are counts, that the choices we make in life really do matter. There's only one context in which that's possible. And that is a context in which encompasses the whole. What makes a difference is to create a context which includes everyone with nothing left out. And in that context, it follows naturally that the principle of your life is that you do make a difference, because in that context, everybody makes a difference. And that's one of the things about making a difference. That's one of the rules. Either everybody makes a difference or nobody makes a difference. It can't be that. I can make a difference and you can't. In that paradigm of thinking, in that condition, no one will ever make a difference. There's the myth that the congressperson makes a difference. But talk to them. They don't. There's a myth that the great executive makes a difference. But talk to him or her. They don't. There's a myth that the person in the media makes a difference, but talk to them. They don't. We've got lots of myths about people who make a difference. But in a context in which I am important and you are not, or in which someone else is important and we are not, or in which you are important and I am not, In that context, nobody makes a difference because it's a context devoid of the potential to make a difference. In the context of a world that works for all of us, with no one and nothing left out, the natural principle on which to base your life, that which you hold your experience, that which will shape and form your experience, that which will limit, that which will prescribe and prescribe your experience of your life, your living, is you make a difference. Each of us makes a difference. Literally, just who you are makes a difference. In that context, who you are in that context. The landless laborers that I spent time with in India, who eat with any certainty for only a third of the year because there's only employment for a third of the year, who year by year face extinction by starvation or the diseases associated with starvation. This was written back in the 80s or the 90s. They don't make any difference. But in a context of making the world work for everyone out of the principle that each of us makes a difference, you can begin to realize that these people expend more courage in one day of living. They manifest more humanity just getting through life than you and I will probably manifest in our greatest, most horrendous achievements. And in a context of a world that works for everyone, that person makes a difference, just who they are. But in our consensus reality, that thought is unthinkable. And so we interact with the people in developing countries like they don't make a difference. We don't make a difference, or we make a difference, but they don't. You notice how that's worked thus far? It's not that we don't have great diplomats. It's not that we don't have great thinkers. It's that in this paradigm, the great diplomat, the greatest diplomacy, the greatest thinking, the greatest statesmanship will fail because everything fails. Finally, nothing makes any difference in this paradigm. You want your life to matter. You want to make a contribution. You want to get up tomorrow morning because you can make a difference. Don't try changing your circumstances. We've all done that 100 times. It doesn't make any difference if it's got the same old paradigm. Just for a couple hours here in this video, leave the gosh darn circumstances alone. Don't change your mind. Don't get smarter just for a couple hours. Don't reinforce what you stand for and what you believe in just for a couple hours. Let's see if by taking a vacation from our circumstances and our minds and our beliefs and our strongly held opinions, if we gain some mastery with respect to our circumstances. I don't want you to stay away from them very long. This video, you're going to go back to them, and I tell you, they're going to be the same as they were when you left. And if you'll create for yourself the context that the world can work for all of us, while the circumstances will be the same, nothing else will. Peace, love, will continue. Bye-bye. Hope you're having the best day ever. See ya.